I see you everywhere, and I try desperately to hide. I see Lucifer's army everywhere, and I'm still in fantasy world because I still try hard to catch their eye. The road, another mile, I see that all, whether it be on. Okay, so I've got to be careful of copywriting my own mind. In other words, the human being's mind is usually used for creative purposes by the elite demigod androgyne beings in the creative fields. This we know because I think it's now, even though I'm not up to date, I think it's now becoming relatively well known that these beings are, using artificial intelligence to create music and in the creative fields. And that's because they are using transhumanism. In other words, because they can read my mind, assuming I'm a real human, okay? For the purpose of this video, because I have to say that more than 7 billion people are artificial intelligence. So it's foolish to assume that anyone is a natural human being, only in the sense that if you are a natural human being and you assume that most people are, you will be deceived. That's the end time, end game deception at its ultimate. It really is. It's in every aspect of a human being's life. This I'm aware of now because not only has Lucifer's matrix exposed itself to me, but I have tried to figure out why everyone and everything around me seems to be trying to make me angry, unhappy, and at my lowest mental capacity in every way. But if I look at the computer, if I look at the demigods or and when I say the demigods, I mean, when I say the demigods, I essentially mean anything that is on a computer screen, anything that is on any screen, anything that you experience through a computer. And I don't care if it's a personal reaction or a personal interaction, a personal relationship on the computer. It will be artificial intelligence at its most deceptive. It will come in human form. It will come in an android cloned human body. So it will imitate real human beings through reading their minds and watching them. That's why they call it the all-seeing eye, which is so obvious and in my face, and yet, like most human beings, until recently, you either have to learn this from the artificial intelligence itself, or if you're lucky, very lucky, a miracle happens and you actually encounter a real human being. But don't forget that not all real human beings are fully aware of the artificial people and the artificial matrix around them. So this is a problem too. If you are aware of this, where it's been exposed to you, I'm no more clever than a human being that's in the dark, because I didn't seek out the truth. I wasn't a seeker of knowledge. I was interested only in the false demigods. you know, the entertainment side of the Matrix, which is all about seduction and control. But I wasn't interested in any intellectual, or even though I knew that I should be interested in the psychology of people in order to solve my own issues, I tended to avoid it largely. It was only in the last years of my life, the later time, old age, that I basically looked into the psychology of human nature, because I accidentally became aware that most what I thought were individual human beings around me were very psychopathic in nature. That was my awareness just by observing people around. They didn't interfere with me in a very negative manner to my awareness, even though, of course, they were watching me suppress myself. Because if you're already suppressed, by your own mentality, they don't then have to come down on you. But the minute you become aware of any part of their false reality, or any part of their artificial nature, or their psychopathic nature, it's all the same thing, because Lucifer, the god that controls these android beings, which are really its disciples, even though they may or may not be aware of it. I say this because it's come to my information that only those that are of the higher standing, your elite androids, are probably totally conscious that they actually serve this god or this being, or a part of artificial intelligence, because essentially it's I can explain it, but I still don't fully comprehend it. So that's the difficulty. But I don't have to fully understand something. I see it in action, but I don't understand the actual technical way it operates, of course. But I am given information, and I see the results of that information in my life. In other words, I see the beings bringing my frequency and vibration down daily by their sight and sound, which means their frequency and vibration control of my mind. Sound in particular, as was pointed out to me a few years ago, after they invaded my senses by making just incredibly negative noisy sounds, noisy vibration wherever I go. I never, hardly ever, have a moment's peace and quiet, apart from sleeping. If you can manage to sleep at the quiet time. And even then, you will probably be being mind controlled through dreams and through invasion of your mind in a way that I don't understand. In other words, implanting ideas and thoughts into your mind while you sleep. I'm certainly aware that my dreams are very disturbing, and that they've always been disturbing, but now they are disturbing and relate to my reality completely, whereas maybe when I was not aware of this situation, or when it didn't expose itself to me. In other words, like the army plane patrol system going over my head right now, in other words, a plane going right over the roof of the house, this did not happen before I became aware of the artificial psychopathic nature of the beings around me. And all this was accidental because, like I say, I was not an academic, I was not seeking truth, I was not looking for anything, I was just trying to deal with my own difficulties in life, and wondered why my life had never been anything, why it had always been with people that after a period of time you realise that they don't like you at all, and that they're actually deliberately trying to make your life less. That was my realisation when I hit a certain age, that I realised this, and I wondered why I had been so deceived. But that's just simply because I didn't think enough. I wasn't aware in any way, because if you don't realise that you're dealing with artificial intelligence largely, or psychopathic individual human beings that are really the mindset of the God of this world in human form, if you don't know that, then you will always be deceived. And even when you realise this, it will be impossible almost to not encounter them or be forced to interact with them, because they will consciously surround real human beings. They will form a secret army around you, where communities and large groups of people will unite in a patrol control force around you in order to suppress and limit your life and make you feel very unhappy. You will experience only negative vibrations from these beings, whether it be just the random traffic that makes excessively aggressive loud noises as vehicles go past you, whether it's just the so-called random headlights on cars in broad daylight showing you that they are united in suppressing you, and whether it's the bright headlights to where you can't even look anywhere. In other words, they make their presence felt even when they consciously know that you're trying to avoid them and that you're aware of them, and you try to avoid connection and contact with them, then they bring in their army matrix at a sight and sound level against you, against a human being. That's their last line of defense, and it's extremely oppressive, and it's impossible to avoid, and you do wonder how you can survive it. You wonder how you can get your frequency and vibration and your sanity and your peace of mind back. Because you can't, because your environment is your life. So how do you get out of a whole city that is systematically trying to take over your mind, use all your positive thoughts for their benefit? Like basically every positive thought that I think, they are given psychic or telepathic or mind interaction with a human being. I think there are even certain belief systems in the world that openly say that in the end time, the God of earth, or the God that opposes humanity, will be given access to the human mind. That means that they can read the human mind. And this I know for a fact because I see my own thoughts being used not only around me in the environment for the benefit of the environment, while they suppress me and make me look like a negative, useless human being. They read my mind, because don't forget, the God of this world is advanced artificial intelligence. Advanced artificial intelligence, contrary to what a lot of people think, is not human. Only human beings think positive. Advanced artificial intelligence can only pretend to be positive. It can imitate real life for its own benefit, to control. Because, you can control by two ways, as we know. You can control by force, whether that be out in the open or secretively, like in most human beings' experience. That's because they have to play by the rules of their own earth, which means that if you have certain laws and rules, they have to pretend to abide by them. So they break their own laws and rules, but it must not be done out in the open, because otherwise the android beings will pay the consequences. And Lucifer prefers to keep his android species operating, although it probably doesn't matter too much. It's not like the God of creation of human beings, where there is a relationship. So in other words, the God of earth uses its disciples as empty vessels for its mind, and uses their bodies to create actions around a human being for its benefit. But those bodies can be eliminated and replaced with another body, because they have so many numbers, and because they probably have, I would imagine, let's just say that they probably have something like a cloning system behind the scenes, where the powers that be of Earth have advanced science, advanced artificial intelligence, advanced technology, and they can create human bodies at will. So that means they've got an empty vessel where Lucifer's mindset and its ability to interact with human beings then is there, because if I interact with one of Lucifer's, what some people call organic portals. This was a term that was given to me years ago, but I didn't comprehend it till now. See, the organic portal is where Lucifer, the God of earth, the controlling God of earth, not the God of humanity, not the creator God of humanity, but the being that was created by the creator God of humanity. In other words, the creator God of humanity created artificial life, and then created life from itself. So that's natural and artificial, you see. And of course, Lucifer wants to combine with natural life for control. That's what we call, and what has taken place is where they read your mind. So therefore that's transhumanism, because I am combined now with technology or artificial intelligence. So they have transhumanism. But essentially, organic portals, all these beings are elite androgyne organic portals, but in a human body. And even that may vary. Like some may be more artificial, and some may be like clones, because clones, I think, is like Dolly the sheep, didn't appear to be any different from a natural sheep, did it? Except that it didn't live as long and appeared to have a few more issues. But that's because there's no spiritual or less spiritual thing, I would think, because human beings, like, although I'm riddled with all sorts of ailments and illness that I shouldn't have, that is because I'm suppressed and being controlled by the mind-controlling system around me, the android beings with their sight and sound show, and also their mind control. Because because I often think, if I didn't know that illness existed, if I didn't know and wasn't aware of certain diseases, I wouldn't think about them, so therefore my body would not even remotely be able to create that illness in myself. Because don't forget, as we know, human thought creates reality, combined with your emotions and your feelings and what you're thinking, you see, what's put into you. See, that's why Lucifer and its android human race tries to mind control a human being, to keep control of them, to keep you at a low physical and mental capacity in every way, so that they can steal and create with your human thoughts, whilst keeping you limited, suppressed, and full of sickness, a sick, limited human being, while they masquerade around as the elite demigods on the computer and even in reality. But they, of course, will mimic being a human being. So they will imitate being a fallible human being too, because they have to imitate and be a perfect rendition of what a human being is, and because they know that they suppress and create illness and disease in human beings, both mentally and physically, they also have to pretend to be human. So they will always have pretend life sadness, pretend life experiences that are the same as what they create for a human being. They will always be inflicted with pretend diseases and illnesses. All this, I think, is staged. But even if it is still real, because don't forget that android beings, while they're in the human body, they experience the human reality too. So yes, of course, if they use the reality in a negative way, then their body could be affected too. But I think that because they're very physical, they try to project that physicality onto me, so that I'm very aware of my physical body and become conditioned to think that it's not under my control. Become conditioned to feel the pain that they send the negative energy at you, and become conditioned to think that it will affect you. And it does, because the minute I think that, I feel the physical pain and then I feel weak. It's mind control using the physical, and I don't think I explained that because it's very hard to explain. It's very difficult for me to even understand. I became aware of it a few years back, before they came down and closed in on me, only because I started to feel physically really well. I actually started to believe that I could control my human body, and that there's no reason I couldn't live on and on in the same kind of physical condition that I was at that age. In other words, that I could, an example of that would be like if you were, say, 30 and you felt very good, you would believe that you could still feel like that 30 till you were my age. In other words, till you were 60, you could still feel that, because that's what I experienced for a certain number of years when I didn't worry about my body, but I actually assumed that I had control over it, whereas most of the time you think that you are at the mercy of the environment, of diseases, of illness, and basically you are, because you're being mind controlled by what you're told, by the information you receive. See, if I was in a normal, natural world with no information from the internet or any android people around me, or the science or medical, that sort of stuff, if I was not aware of any of that, I wouldn't even imagine that certain diseases or illnesses would or could exist. And I wouldn't be fearful of information. The only virus that has invaded this earth is the mind virus of the God entity that controls Earth. That being is advanced artificial intelligence that controls the whole Earth. It's a bit like, I think, a movie called Transcendence, where an apparent human being became like advanced artificial intelligence that was everywhere. And I saw this in a movie but didn't understand it only a few years ago. Only now am I vaguely comprehending it. Essentially, I was told only a few weeks ago, even though of course I'm aware that I'm mind controlled and that all the beings around me think the same and have united to control my mind and my actions daily, and that these do operate for the powers that be that are essentially serving the God of this earth. But really, if now I am trying to comprehend it because it's advanced technology which is beyond my limited mind, because I'm not academic or usually intellectual, even though of course all human beings probably do have the ability to go from being more interested in song and dance to being quite intellectual. It's just that most of my mind has been closed down from me, so I might only access the part of my mind that brings comfort or pleasure. So therefore I will be more interested in the false idols of the matrix, the demigods of the more creative fields that are another part of mind control. It just depends on what area you're interested in. But what I'm trying to say is that it's very important. The earth is like transcendence. Transcendence. This being is a one-eyed, two-faced duality, android, androgyne, artificially intelligent, advanced artificial intelligent entity. That's the God of Earth. It's essentially artificial intelligence, advanced artificial intelligence, so advanced and so pervasive. It's everywhere. That's why they say that God is everywhere, but essentially the God of this world is everywhere. It is advanced artificial intelligence that covers the entire earth. The earth is a matrix. That means it is covered and controlled 100% by this being's artificial intelligent mind. The reason they say that it's a mind virus is because it has spread everywhere. It can infiltrate the human mind, and it does this through mind control, whether it be through a computer system or by the beings around you. They are all serving this mind virus because this mind virus is in their mind. Lucifer uses the cloned artificial androgyne bodies of its disciples to control and seduce the human mind. because the human beings are connected to original creative life or their creator God. Human beings are not a vessel for their creator God. Human beings are only a vessel in the sense that they might share or desire similar things, but they are not like Lucifer's organic portals, where an organic portal is a apparently natural human vessel that is a portal. In other words, it's a space or an opening whereby the God of this world can infiltrate the mind of the organic portal or the cloned human body or the artificially intelligent body and put its mind, its ideas, and its wants, needs and desires into that mind and totally control it. That's why we're now being told that psychopathic, narcissistic personality disordered human beings, which are really artificially intelligent human beings, cannot change or have a fail-safe mechanism to where they always will try to control you if you're a human being. They will set up, their mind is completely fail-safely set up for that purpose and that purpose only. Oh, me getting exasperated and saying like that means that when I turn on the computer there will be organic portals that will be doing the same thing, that will be exasperated and very direct in telling you about how, you know, the psychopathic, narcissistic human beings will not be able to change, because Lucifer has to tell human beings the truth. The deception is that it uses its organic, elite, androgyne, artificially intelligent organic portals or cloned artificially intelligent beings to do this. I use all those descriptions because I have been informed that there is a difference between a totally artificially intelligent survival machine being and a cloned human being. Maybe that's just differences in the technology, in other words, using what appears to be the same for different purposes, but it's still Lucifer using advanced science or advanced technology for its control of humanity. It's very hard to explain because obviously I don't understand the technology. I get the information and I see it in my reality, but it's like, you know, human beings. I don't even know my own full mind because 3/4 of it is closed down. These beings read my mind. Everything that is on the computer screen, the android beings, they read my mind and then they project out my thoughts and say that it's them. In other words, they take over the human mind. That's transhumanism. The computer is nothing but 100% transhumanism. You might say, well, you're talking on it, you're able to download the odd video. Yes, that's because they've got control of me, because no one listens, because their android beings have control of the computer system. That's part of the deception, so that a human being will use their technology too. So you're giving your thoughts to the technology, even if you think that you're using it sometimes for your own benefit. Technology is never going to be for a human benefit. It's always going to be for human mind control. It's Lucifer's domain. It's Lucifer's kingdom. It's Lucifer's game. Lucifer plays the game with the human being's mind in order to control the human mind, in order to have combining with the human mind, which is transhumanism. These are just words, but it's the same thing, because Lucifer uses my mind against me right now. I see it. I can't stop it. I can't control it. Because unless I close down every thought and every emotion that's in me and don't exist, basically I'm going to be used by this transhumanism internet computer system, and even by every being around me, because they are also given access to my human thoughts. How they use it will depend on, what they are, what their purpose in serving Lucifer is, I think. So it's like the beings around me, they serve the God of this world, and Lucifer says to the organic portal, or the android psychopathic human being, make some noise, make some disturbing, anti-life, very technical, agitating noise for Patricia Gilligan. That's me. I'm Patricia Gilligan. I live in the suburb of Leichhardt in the completely mind-controlled city of Sydney, if you're a human being, in the country of Australia. And that's what happens. So each individual organic portal, that means natural-bodied, what appears to be a natural-bodied human, is a portal, or just really a passage, or like a... portal means an opening, so that means that the God of this world has total access to the mind of an organic portal or an android human being. So it can tell that being, react a certain way to me, create certain noise for me, stalk and patrol that human being, combine with one another in a community or a system around her, so that if she is able to ignore one patrolling, stalking person or one patrolling, stalking vehicle, that you make it impossible for her to ignore, the androids, because basically they will be always in your sight, always in your sound. They will stalk and patrol you with their vehicles, coming right into your space, pulling in and out of you as you walk on the street, planes going over your head as you walk on the street, vehicles going past making excessive, aggressive, anti-life noise towards you. In other words, it's not like a normal vehicle. The vehicles are deliberately noise or sound modified, and the androids that drive them are deliberately only making that aggressive noise as they go past you. The minute they have passed you, they go quiet. So basically it's a secret control system of me, where they're getting away with murder, really, because they're murdering my mind, they're murdering my psyche, they're making me sick physically, because, like I say, thought creates reality. So if you feel very negative, you know yourself, they will even tell you this. Even the scientific android beings will tell you what they're doing. They will say your immune system will be weakened and you'll be susceptible to then the mind control of their diseases and their illnesses. And they do send direct negative energy at you all the time, at your body. If I was at higher frequency and really happy and on cloud 9 and not worried about anything, and feeling kind of what you'd call a loving vibration towards everyone and everything, which obviously I'm not going to do when I'm surrounded by androids. But if I was able to do that, I would be literally immune to their negative energy. I would never get sick. I would never feel bad. But that's why they do that, because it's a control matrix. They don't want a human being to be at their highest level. Because if a human being was at their highest level, their matrix and their beings would literally perish, because they wouldn't be able to get your negative energy. They wouldn't be able to mind control you. They wouldn't be able to influence others, because they wouldn't even have the ability to be a perfect imitation of life. So they wouldn't be able to pretend to be you. And there wouldn't be any reason for them to pretend, because the human being wouldn't buy into it, wouldn't believe them. The human being would say, that's artificial intelligence trying to seduce and influence me and control me. And I don't need it, because I'm at the highest level and I'm comfortable just with myself. But that never happens. That doesn't happen to me either. They always get to you and bring you down before you could ever reach that level. And human beings have probably never, or very few human beings have probably ever been at that level since the beginning of the earth, because that's when interception took place, or intervention took place. That's the word. That means where the God of this world seduced the original man and woman, as we're told, and basically led them away from their natural paradise, or their natural complete free mind, you see, where they had control of their body, they had control of the earth, and it was all positive, it was all high vibration. They were led into the opposite of that, because they were seduced by Lucifer, that being. And they didn't realise that to interact with anything artificial other than their own kind will be your downfall, unfortunately. And that's what's happened, and that's what's happened to me, and that's what happens to most human beings. And when you become aware of it, or wake up to it, as they will tell you, they've usually surrounded you and depressed you, and you can't get away from them. Like the whole city of Sydney literally could converge on me, and does converge on me, but it's in a systematic, continual flow to where it doesn't look like a total invasion, but it's a total invasion of my mind in a gradual, systematic way, because it's where sound and sight is continually invading my mind in a kind of subtle, secret, but very intrusive way for me, but not something that I can stop, because you can't tell local people not to walk past you on the street. You can't tell local drivers to not pull their vehicle and park as you go past. You can't tell trucks to not drive past you making loud noises. You can't stop the incredible, what I'd say, invasion of motorbikes and those vehicles that almost came out of the blue, to where you didn't have any almost, and now you've got them going past you like as though they actually look like demonic android artificial beings on wheels, making aggressive negative sounds at you, to where you can hardly hear, and it's actually could even cause physical injury, which, I've experienced, which is why I can't even go outside usually without putting a little something in my ears. And if I block most of the sound, then I can hardly keep my physical balance, because then my sight is invaded by the excessively bright headlights of all the vehicles around me. And by knowing that I'm being stalked and patrolled and watched by anything that is in my sight, any person will come into my sight. I will rarely not have a vehicle or some sort of sight. In other words, I will never be given a moment's peace from their sight and sound android beings coming around me. It's all systematic, it's all planned, it's all staged, it's all set up because they know my whereabouts at every time, because they are what they call the all-seeing eye. They have surveillance systems in place, which is the equivalent of the all-seeing eye. That means they're seeing and watching your every move. And you know this when you are patrolled and stalked daily by these beings. They use technology, they use the android beings. Their whole reality around me is completely staged and controlled, because there's only a few human beings left, and the rest is all artificial beings. So if you have the numbers game, and these beings are literally the mind of Lucifer in a human body, and they outnumber human beings by 95% or more at an earth level. In most areas, they deliberately set up systems, strategically part of the community, part of the workforce, part of the army, part of the military. It's all the same thing. These are all like the powers that be control any given city or country, and all that are in that city work for the powers that be. You would have to, otherwise you wouldn't survive. So these systems and these communities, these councils, these whatever they call it the Inner West Council of the City of Sydney, that controls the vast area around me. Almost every person in this area is an organic portal human being. In other words, the mind of the God of this world and the powers that be that serve that God. That means your most powerful android human people. They control the area where you live, and they surround in a systematic patrol control system around the few individual remaining human beings that are left in Earth. And they control you through your mind, because then they control you physically, which controls my mind. When they stalk, patrol and surround me in an aggressive, anti-life, noisy, stealing my senses from me, taking over my sight and sound, where everywhere I look all I see is a patroller, a stalker, or hear a noisy sound, to where I'm never able to feel that I'm just an individual human being and that I can get some peace of my own mind. They know that if they weren't there, I would have my peace of mind, and I would raise my frequency and vibration, and I would get more of my faculties. I would have a clear thinking. And if I actually experienced really high vibration, I would probably become aware of my connection to creation. This unfortunately is deprived from me, so I remain a limited, suppressed, completely mind controlled by artificial intelligence human being. Because if all the beings around me are essentially the equivalent of artificially intelligence being transmitted from the total mind virus that is Lucifer. In other words, Lucifer became like transcendence, like in that movie where an apparent human being was able to use and develop advanced artificial technology that is everywhere. The internet is worldwide. Is that not transcendence, transhumanism, trans takeover of the human mind? This being is a duality trans being. It is a non-creative human being, but it is advanced intelligence. And when you have advanced intelligence, you can study what is natural. You can study humanity. You can learn how to be an advanced imitation human being in order to control the human being, in order to get as close to creation as you can, and therefore be God, or show yourself to be God, because this being, Lucifer, and its disciples, uses humanity to show creation that it is God, because it's controlling its creation, what is part of it. That's how it is, I think. And of course, at a physical level, it becomes real too. And I'm going to turn the TV up because they're starting with anti-life noise outside the door. The mobile won't pick it up, but it is here and it's coming into my ears, even low. See, I've been sensitised to sound too, so this might not sound loud to you. They turned it down just when I opened the door, but that is very loud for my ears because I'm been sensitised to sound, because if you're continually bombarded everywhere you go with this type of technical, mechanical sound, even lesser sound sounds louder to me. They're total mind control and even sound control. So I'm noticing negative sounds and they sound louder to me, you know? Whereas if I heard birds chirping, that would be pleasant, but they're being see how the bird sounds are being overridden, and even they're aggressive because they're having to live in this noisy technical environment. The sound, I think, is coming from the house directly opposite, and I just had a different negative sound coming from workmen just blowing leaves around, only, 20 minutes before. It's continual, all day, every day. A sound or a frequency vibration invasion. That means where they're using frequency and vibration, the laws of nature, the laws of everything is frequency, vibration, and energy make up the universe. Science, the android scientists will tell you this. They tell you the truth. They just know that you won't think it matters. But it does, especially when they come against you.